and I get comments from people being like, oh, I introduced my grandchildren to your show. Like, I found you through Daily Wire. My mom is like my biggest fan on YouTube. Definitely took this survey.
I feel like it was like that for a lot of us. It's easier for me than it was for Tom because I wasn't playing a character that had already existed in the previous films.
Has the battle for Snow White just rewritten Hollywood's rules? You've probably seen the firestorm surrounding Disney's latest live-action remake, but no one expected to see two different actresses from completely different backgrounds battling it out over a single fairy tale princess. On one side, you have Rachel Zegler, once Disney's rising star, who famously put down the 1937 animated film as creepy and outdated. On the other side, you have Brett Cooper, a newcomer to mainstream Hollywood who's taking a faithful approach that's sending ripples through social media. Is the Disney brand on the brink of a massive misstep? Or is this just the beginning of a brand new era for fairy tales? Disney's live-action Snow White was supposed to be a safe bet. The original animated classic from 1937 launched the entire empire of Disney princesses, after all. This is the film that Walt Disney himself labeled the perfect story. A fairy tale so iconic, it reshaped animation forever. So when news broke that a top-tier filmmaker like Greta Gerwig would take part in this adaptation, fans braced themselves for something groundbreaking. Gerwig became a household name with Lady Bird, a coming-of-age film lauded for its strong female lead and nuanced storytelling. She continued that streak with Little Women and Barbie, each earning significant box office success. That's why many were baffled when the new Snow White updates started leaking out. Rachel Zegler, best known for her breakout role in West Side Story, openly admitted she disliked Disney's first princess.
She was like, Jacqueline, if they play Getaway Car or Maroon, she's on crisis watch. Not only did she play Getaway Car, she also played Maroon. I was having a mental breakdown in the audience at MetLife Stadium.
She even said she watched the 1937 film just once and found it bizarre and outdated. From there, the internet seized on every snippet of news. For some, Zegler's words felt like a personal attack on a treasured childhood classic. For others, it was a refreshing promise of a modern spin on a character who spent most of the original movie unconscious. But with each new comment, fans grew more divided. Was Disney about to sabotage a fairy tale that had enchanted generations? Before this controversy flared, Greta Gerwig was on a winning streak. Known for combining wit, emotional depth, and timeless themes, she seemed like a natural fit for breathing new life into a vintage Disney story. After she penned Barbie, a massive box office triumph, people assumed she'd bring a masterful, empowering take to Snow White. Yet as filming details emerged, many wondered, how much say does Gerwig really have? Hollywood can be a tangle of corporate influence, and Snow White is a pillar in the Disney brand. Gerwig might have pitched a certain direction, but was her script changed by committee decisions? Did she have to appease producers who demanded maximum wokeness or certain storyline points to cater to modern audiences? The final product has fans questioning whether Gerwig was overshadowed by the demands of a big studio. Zegler's interviews didn't help. Her repeated claims that the new Snow White won't be dreaming about true love and definitely won't be saved by a prince fueled skepticism. People started to see Gerwig's involvement less as a guarantee of a good film and more as a shield Disney used to justify major changes.
I did. It was so fun. Oh my God, as a huge Disney fan, it was so exciting to finally get to go to D23. Yeah. I live on the East Coast, so I was never able to go, and also tickets sell out like in a flash. So it was so exciting to go, and my mom was super jealous because my mom is the reason I'm a Disney fan.
How could Gerwig's name, once synonymous with thoughtful writing, be tied to something so divisive? Amid all the Disney drama, another Snow White suddenly appeared, Brett Cooper. She's known primarily as a YouTube host with a knack for commentary and snappy takes on cultural controversies. One might call her the complete opposite of a Hollywood starlet like Rachel Zegler, yet here she is, headlining a rival version called Snow White and the Evil Queen, produced under the Daily Wire's growing entertainment wing. Cooper's take on Snow White couldn't be more different. Rather than rewriting the story, she's doubling down on everything fans remember: romance, innocence, and that signature belief in happily ever after. Even more surprising is the swirling controversy about her departure from the Daily Wire. Insiders hint at massive financial troubles in the company and bizarre behavior from CEO Jeremy Boring, possibly bugging the office to address behind-the-scenes chaos. Why cast Cooper if the organization has financial woes? Some suggest it was a risk worth taking to capitalize on Disney's perceived missteps. The timing couldn't be more perfect. While Disney scrambles to do damage control over Zegler's comments, the Daily Wire sets the stage for a fairy tale that claims to return to its classic roots. Despite the rumored hostility around her exit, Cooper remains undeterred, promoting her film as a faithful adaptation that Walt would recognize. With 2 separate Snow White movies in development, fans are caught in a broader cultural tug-of-war. On one side, you have Disney's high-budget machine leaning into modernization.
Is not designed right now to necessarily develop great leaders or to encourage more people to seek public office. It just is far more difficult. Now, I've never been in it, but from what I observe, it's far more difficult to run for office today than ever before.
Less romance, more girl boss energy, and overt attempts to repackage the original story for 21st century sensibilities. On the other side, the Daily Wire is banking on nostalgia, betting that audiences still crave the comfort of an unaltered fairy tale. This division extends beyond movie preferences. It taps into deeper sentiments about Hollywood's approach to rewriting stories we grew up with. Are we witnessing much-needed progress that finally gives Snow White her agency? Or is Hollywood discarding what made these tales resonate for so long? Kindness, love, and an unjaded look at the world. Social media is ablaze with debate. Hashtags praising Brett Cooper's authentic princess vibe trend alongside threads calling her a mouthpiece for regressive storytelling. Meanwhile, Zegler faces relentless backlash from fans who accuse her of arrogance, claiming she destroyed the character's timeless charm. There's no middle ground. Either you see the 1937 film as sexist and outdated, or you treasure its innocence. And both sides want to claim that they're right. Rachel Zegler likely never imagined she'd become the face of a cultural crisis over a classic cartoon princess. Early in her career, she earned praise for her impressive vocal range and emotional depth in West Side Story. But as the new Snow White, she's weathered a PR nightmare. People seized on her comments about how the original is 1937 and it's extremely dated, interpreting them as disrespectful toward a beloved film. Then came her remarks about the prince. Zegler insisted Snow White definitely isn't going to be saved by the prince.
I feel like it was like that for a lot of us. It's easier for me than it was for Tom because I wasn't playing a character that had already existed in the previous films. And those performances are so wonderful that you don't want to try to recreate anything because there's the fear of failing miserably. But also it's 64 years before the original films take place, the original books. And Francis Lawrence, who directed Catching Fire and both Mockingjay films, and Nina, who produced all of the Hunger Games content, they didn't put any pressure on us to try to recreate anything.
Doubling down on how outdated she finds those romantic tropes. For some viewers, that stance was a breath of fresh air. Finally, a princess who doesn't just wait for love. But for others, it felt like an unnecessary dunk on a story cherished for almost a century. Compounding the backlash, Zegler seemed defensive in interviews, rolling her eyes at critics who prefer the traditional fairy tale. Meanwhile, Brett Cooper's star rose, painting her role as a nostalgic return to the story's romantic innocence. Zegler's insecure jabs at Cooper's version, accusing it of being out of touch, only spotlighted how much the audience cherishes a classic retelling. The more Zegler fought back, the more she fueled the narrative that she was alienating fans rather than winning them over. Just as Brett Cooper was celebrating the positive buzz around her faithful Snow White, whispers of trouble at the Daily Wire emerged. From rumored financial debts to speculation that CEO Jeremy Boring is frantically bugging the office, the drama behind the production is as complicated as any Hollywood meltdown. Critics argue that this turmoil might overshadow Cooper's chance at stardom. Yet, strangely enough, the chaos at the Daily Wire has only heightened the spotlight on Cooper's Snow White and the Evil Queen. Fans are curious whether this small but vocal media outlet can deliver a big-budget fairy tale that competes with Disney. If the Daily Wire's finances truly are shaky, how are they funding a fully scored musical adaptation with elaborate sets and costumes? Some insiders claim that the Daily Wire sees Snow White as an investment in cultural capital by stepping in when Disney might be alienating fans.
And my advice to them was to not hear the noise as much, to continue doing the job that we've entrusted them to do. Right. Which is to tell the truth, to state the facts, to present the news in an accurate and a fair and in a timely basis.
They can assert themselves as a new player in the family entertainment market. Cooper's approach, preserving Walt's original vision and values, could become a rallying point for viewers tired of reboots that stray too far from the source material. Despite the behind-the-scenes drama, or maybe because of it, more and more people are curious about this alternative Snow White. So where does this leave us? On one side, Rachel Zegler's Snow White from Disney arrives with promises of modern sensibilities and a no-prince-needed storyline. It boasts the powerhouse name of Greta Gerwig and the immense marketing machine of a global conglomerate. Yet public sentiment isn't exactly on its side, as Zegler's blunt critiques of the original film have turned off many fans. On the other side, Brett Cooper's Snow White and the Evil Queen is forging its own path. Despite controversies within the Daily Wire, Cooper's portrayal appeals to everyone longing for that old-school Disney magic. The film nods respectfully to what made the 1937 original endure for generations. Love, innocence, hope. Those timeless themes are front and center. This isn't just two actresses vying for the same iconic role, it's a cultural battle. One champions a progressive rewrite, the other resurrects a fairy tale's enduring roots. And with Disney's brand on the line, plus the Daily Wire's bigger ambitions to challenge Hollywood from the outside, the stakes couldn't be higher. Could this be the moment that reveals just how tired audiences are of updating childhood classics? Or will mainstream viewers embrace Zegler's bold reimagining?
She's my best friend, and she's the one who sent me the casting notice and said, "Thank me when you're famous." It's the craziest thing ever that it came true in that weird way, and that's why I bring her everywhere, and she's the best ever. But yeah, I put myself on tape. It's the worst tape you've ever seen in your life. I have no idea how I got the part still, and it's being used to teach future casting directors at NYU.
Now we want to hear from you. Are you cheering for Zegler's fearless, independent Snow White? Or do you find yourself longing for the tender-hearted Princess Cooper is reviving? Could Disney's gamble pay off? Or will they regret moving so far from the classic tale that started it all? Let us know in the comments. Don't hold back. This is the fairy tale conversation that nobody saw coming. And if you want more unfiltered takes on Hollywood's wildest controversies, make sure you're subscribed. A centuries-old fairy tale has suddenly become a mirror reflecting Hollywood's cultural crossroads. Whether you think Snow White should dream of love or dream of leadership, one thing's clear: the story is far from over. You might be watching the birth of a whole new era in filmmaking, where the small guys and the big controversies can disrupt the entertainment giants. Stay tuned, because the real battles in fairy tales have only just begun.